Protein is essential. This is essential not only for like building lean muscle tissue, but it's also essential for vitality and longevity of life. You see, we want to get in good habits so that we can continue to live and age gracefully over time. And protein is one of those things that is often overlooked. You see, after the age of 30, we lose 3 to 8% of our muscle mass every decade. And guess what? When we get to 60, it accelerates even more. So when we take protein and we combine it with resistance training, it allows us to continue to build lean muscle tissue over time. So this is going to be a priority for us moving forward. We want to make sure that we have the longevity of life, that you can live your best life possible for longer. We want to move better, feel better, look better, and live better. Those are the 4 key tenets. And if we eat protein and combine that with resistance training, we're going to have a better opportunity to do that. Let me break this down real quick, why it's important. See, number one, protein is just a series of amino acids stacked on top of each other. If you think about Lego bricks, they get stacked on top of each other. They can make a wall, they can make a car, they can make all kinds of different models. Protein essentially works the same way in our muscle. Protein works in lots of areas of the body, but we're going to stay focused on the muscle tissue right now. We want to make sure that we are constantly building and repairing our lean muscle tissue. And protein takes the essential amino acids and takes our amino acids and builds them together. You see, there are essential and non-essential amino acids. There are 9 essential ones, and we have to make sure that we get those out of our food every single day. And one big priority out of that is leucine, because leucine promotes protein synthesis, which means it allows us to build and repair our muscle tissue after difficult workouts. It's important for us to make sure that we continue to build lean muscle tissue over time, and leucine in particular allows us to do that, and we have to make sure we get enough of that. You see, protein is not created in our body. It's not stored either. So unlike carbohydrates and fat, we have to consume protein often to make sure that our body gets it, uses it, and then excretes it. So we have to make sure that we're getting protein at regular intervals. If you look at programs that have told you need to eat 3, 4, 5 meals a day, 6 meals a day, whatever it is, those generally happen in regular intervals because we want to make sure that we're consuming protein. See, protein is best consumed at about 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal. It kind of has a max cap at about 40. After 40 grams of protein, which is a lot for some, after 40 grams of protein, it starts to lose, it actually hits its max effectiveness. After that, you kind of just excrete whatever else you don't use. So unfortunately, unlike carbs and fat, we don't store it. Or I guess I should say, fortunately, like carbs and fat, we don't store it. When we overconsume carbohydrates and fat, we store those in our body to pull out for energy later. Protein doesn't do that. So we want to make sure that we're eating in regular intervals of about 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal. For males, we may want more than that, up to 40, maybe a little bit over. That could be a slight difference there. But we want to make sure that we're eating in regular intervals to keep our body working. We eat in regular intervals because eating something like 60, 70 grams of protein, eating something super big, and then just having a little bit later on is not as effective as having consistent doses of 20 to 30 grams of protein throughout the course of the day. So we want to make sure that we are consistently getting protein throughout our day. Okay, so our policy here is protein first. Protein first, and we have 3 ways that we think about that. Number 1, protein first in your meal planning. In your meal planning, we want to think protein first, then everything else. I'm having chicken with, fill in the blanks. I'm having turkey with, fill in the blanks. I'm having beef or steak with, fill in the blank. We want to make sure that we think protein first so that way we get that in. If we don't think protein first, it's often easy to overeat around carbohydrates and fat, not get enough protein in, or not eat very much protein at all, because carbs and fat don't require a whole lot of thought. We can eat a whole lot of things that have those in them. And then we're full at that moment. Unfortunately, what carbohydrates and fat generally does is when we eat them, we can consume a large amount of them, feel full, and then we're actually hungry again later. Protein actually makes us feel full. It provides satiety. So we want to make sure that we are planning that out. Meal planning, step number one, protein first in meal planning. Think protein, number one. The second part of protein first is this: protein first thing in the morning. Now, some of you work out in the morning and you don't love eating before that. There are some strategies that we can pull up to use to make sure that we get some protein synthesis going, get our protein in, or make an accommodation for that. But ideally, protein comes first thing in the morning because we have been sleeping for 8 hours. We don't have stores of energy, stores of protein like we do for carbohydrates and fat. We would like to get those into our system as fast as possible. So we want to think protein first thing in the morning. The third part of protein first is protein first right after the workout. Now, we want to pair this with carbohydrates because carbohydrates acts as a key to get the protein into our system. So we want to eat protein with some carbohydrates. So that's a priority for us, but we want to make sure within the first 30 minutes of within first 30 minutes of working out, we want to get protein into our system to make sure we start the repairing process for our muscles after a workout. So you have to remember, when we work out, we're tearing muscle fiber down. When we rest, when we sleep, and when we consume protein, it helps us to build that muscle fiber back up so that way we can ultimately build the lean muscle tissue that we want. So those are the three keys of protein first. Protein first in your meal planning, protein first in your breakfast, and protein first in a post-workout scenario. So next, you're gonna ask, how much protein should I consume in the course of a day? It's a great question. Protein should be consumed at about 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of body weight per day. So if you weigh 150 pounds, the example should be you're going to eat somewhere between 105 and 150 grams of protein per day. Some of you are thinking, holy cow, that's a lot of protein. And that's okay. In the beginning, it might feel that way. But over time, we're going to build up to allow you to eat that protein so you feel good. What you're going to find about this is you're going to start to feel good. You're going to get a lot of energy from this. You're also going to feel full, so you're going to be less likely to snack and have meals in between because you're like, I feel satisfied. I don't need to eat junk food because I'm eating enough protein. That's the way this starts. So we're thinking 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal. We're thinking if you weighed 150 pounds, all you have to do is do the math. You take your body weight times 0.7, and then your body weight times 1, which should be super simple. And then you go, that's the range that I'm going to eat in. And in the beginning, you can stay on the lower end, but we eventually want to work our way up closer to the 1 gram per pound of body weight. But again, that'll take some time. We want to make sure that we are getting enough protein in. A cool fact about protein that I didn't mention in the beginning is protein has the highest thermic effect of feeding of any food, of any macronutrient. What's cool about that is it means to take in the protein, it actually requires energy, and to require energy, we have to burn it, right? So protein actually burns calories. Now, it's not a huge amount, but it burns calories. So eating more protein is actually better than eating carbohydrates and fat regularly because it'll require us to burn more calories to consume it. So we're thinking protein first. Protein is essential. It's going to help you to live longer, to live better. You're going to be able to build lean muscle tissue and to live the life that you want, to give yourself the opportunity to live and move well for the rest of your life. It's also going to give you the opportunity to have that metabolism feeling good. You see, I talked about in the beginning, we lose generally 3 to 8% of our muscle mass over time, and that's what slows down our metabolism. Protein acts as that fire, that thing that keeps your metabolism working well. So we want to make sure that we're eating protein regularly. This is not a diet. This is something you should do for the rest of your life, is to eat protein at those volumes. So we want to make sure that we're eating about 20 to 30 grams of protein. For this example, if you weighed 150 pounds and we use that example and say you ate 105 grams of protein, that means you'd eat 5 meals consisting of 20 grams of protein. If you wanted to go higher, then you would just dose up from there. You eat 20 to 25 grams, up to 30. If you wanted to eat less meals, then that would mean you would just consume more at each meal. So it's not difficult. It just takes a little bit of time to calculate that, and we will work through those numbers for you. But we want to make sure, I want you to get the point that protein first. Protein is first. Protein is first because it's going to make the biggest difference for you to reset your metabolism, to help you to not only to look better, but to move better, to feel better, and to live better. So let's get ready to make sure we are consuming protein. We have a whole guide for you that will guide you with protein recipes from anything from smoothies to whole foods. Our goal with protein is that you would consume most of this through whole foods, that you would consume the foods from things that would give us all 9 essential amino acids, things like eggs or egg whites, dairy products, milk, lean beef, bison, venison, or other game meats, chicken breast, turkey breast, lean pork, fish, shellfish, things like that, that will provide us with all 9 essential amino acids. If we need to use something like a protein shake, we think that's really great, especially post-workout, or you can use it first thing in the morning to help provide you with something that maybe not food if you don't like to eat first thing in the morning. You can eat those things, but our goal in everything is to eat as much whole food as possible and then to supplement around that to help us to make sure we get to the numbers that we want to achieve every single day. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to lock in on our number for protein and make sure we have that so we understand exactly where we are, how we should move forward, and how we can help ourselves to move better, feel better, look better, and live better. Let's eat some protein and go be great today.